Hello everyone, this is Rodin again, and welcome to our school block series. And today we're going to be going over the Null Sec market overview. Today we'll be going over the following topics. Why am I doing market play in Null Sec? What are my expectations? Observations so far? Planning for the future? And is this viable for a newer player? Alright, so we'll go ahead and dive right into it. For the most part, I am making this topic very specifically because of my new affiliations, which we will be going over here shortly. Alright, why am I doing market play in Null Sec? Well, I've mentioned this actually a few times in our trade recap streams. I am a new member of the Valkyrie Knights, a member corp in the ULI Federation, and my alliance lives in Providence. For those of you guys who are not familiar, Providence is a Null Sec region. It's basically in Mars space, and it shares borders with High Sec directly. It's one of the few regions that actually have straight, have High Sec to Null Sec system connections, so which is oddly enough quite rare. Oftentimes what you actually see is high sec to low sec, then to null sec connections. That tends to be a more natural progression of the sec status of the systems. However, Providence is kind of strange that way geographically. Another reason why I'm doing market play in null sec, it's basically a natural progression of our market activities. For those of you guys who have been following us, I basically focus on station trading, specifically trading within JITA and the surrounding citadel, the market for the czars. Okay, to be clear, and taking that activity and basically trying to emulate the same thing in Null Sec seems pretty exciting to me, to be honest. I've actually never done that before. I have been in Null Sec before, but more of a kind of effort-based PvE type. The last time I was in Null Sec in a dedicated fashion, it was literally years ago. I was there as a miner. After that, I had a very, very short time with CO2. Didn't really like it there, to be honest. Sorry, guys. It just seemed a little bit too big for me, to be honest. And then, yeah, that's really the extent of my experience in Null Sec. So I'm really excited to actually be back there with the knowledge and intent of what I want to do with the market, and of course explore the challenges of Null Sec market play, which are plenty. A lot of it I didn't really think would be challenges, but I think I was running on very optimized assumptions as I was going along with the experiences that I've had so far in Providence specifically. So as we're covering this topic, we're going to be talking very specifically about Providence. So we're going to draw from our experiences and limit it to that, all right? So that it's realistic. There is a genuine reference point, all right? So it's not just, it's not like a textbook response, All right. We'll cover our other topics here. What are my expectations? So first of all, how did I end up in this corporation and this alliance? It was actually recommended to us by one of our viewers from our trading stream to check out Valkyrie Knights. All right, I was very glad I did. The recruiters were they were on point. They were really good recruiters, and all my questions were answered very clearly. I didn't have a whole lot of requirements, to be honest with you, because I've been pretty self-sufficient all these years, so I wasn't really all that concerned with what's the ratting space like, can I mine there, what's the logi like. It honestly actually didn't matter to me too much, because I didn't really need all that much support. I am quite capable and comfortable working on my own as needed, so that didn't really bug me too much. I was just glad to have access to the space. Honestly, that was my biggest thing. All right, so upon getting here, I basically developed these expectations as far as marketplace concerned. Okay, I have to seek out teamwork potential instead of individual effort. This is like one of the biggest differences right from the get-go. I have to actively change my way of thinking, and instead of just thinking, oh, what can I do, it should be, what can I get my corp to do, what can I get my alliance to do, how can I contribute to the corporation and alliance efforts. All right, it really stopped becoming about just me, because it's not like I'm just going to be station trading in Providence. I'm sure you could, but that wouldn't make sense, and that won't make sense, and they won't make sense because of the things that we're going to be covering here in this topic today specifically. Okay. All right, another thing that I was expecting was I needed to identify and utilize region-specific market qualities. So I was expecting the market in Provi to be quite bare. I was expecting not a whole lot I wasn't expecting much by way of what's available in the market, to be honest, because of its geography and how close it is to the major trade hub. I mean, you could literally, I think from our pipe, which is the KBP pipe, up to Amar, it's less than 15 jumps, like manually. You know what I mean? So I didn't think there would be enough market presence here in Providence, but I was actually pretty surprised that that wasn't the case. There was a market presence, however, it's definitely not as robust as you would expect, because a lot of people do their own logistics. They get their own stuff here. They have their own drum freighters. I imagine there's folks within the corporation or alliance that actually does drum freighter hauling services. So all that stuff. So the people that live here have gear, have the things they need to survive. They just have, it appears as if they expect to not necessarily get that from the regional market. They expect to have to get that here on their own. All right, and that was very, very true so far from my experience trying to get ships for CTAs and things like that, which we will cover also here in a little bit. It was pretty strange, but it's a great opportunity. Okay. Another expectation that I had coming in here was I had to be prepared to meet resistance. Well, what do I mean by that? Because of my actual gameplay style, I'm not a dedicated ratter, I'm not a dedicated miner, nor am I a dedicated PvPer. I was here very specifically to just live, be social, and see what's going on in the market, and continue to do that market gameplay that I've been doing for a while now, and see if my market style is actually viable in a place like Providence. As far as the resistance, did I meet? I think it's not so much that I met resistance. It's more of I met a whole lot of indifference, which is good. I'll take indifference because that means I can still do what I need to do. I'm not. There's nothing blocking my way, by way of access to stations or anything like that. So I really do appreciate that. All right, our observations so far. What have we noticed so far? Raw materials are cheap. So at time of recording, I think I've been with the corporation maybe 2.5 weeks. Okay. It took during the first week, I was kind of just getting stuff moved, ship by ship. I was getting stuff in, seeing what the lay of the land is, making sure I have tactical bookmarks, things like that. So this week, I actually finally started looking into the markets, trying to see what's available out there. As far as minerals are concerned, I basically it was explained to me kind of in a weird way, but it's common practice apparently to have minerals listed on sell side in Providence cheaper than Jita. So I've thought about that for a minute. So why are they doing that? Why are they trying to sell minerals cheaper than Jita? Either they're just trying to offload it, or that's just what I'm thinking. They're just trying to offload it. So what did I do? I bought everything up. I bought all the minerals in the region that were listed under Jita buy at the time. So not even 2 weeks into the alliance, into the corporation, I basically reset the mineral market scene in Providence. So now if you're looking at it now, it's a lot cleaner. Things make more sense, and I'll explain here why it kind of why the market actually looked like that. Okay, and we'll cover that in a few slides here, but it just happened that way. So how much minerals did I acquire? I've kind of consolidated them a little better, and now I have maybe 3 to 5 stations and citadels that are holding upwards of 1 to 3 million M3 of minerals that need to be moved. They need to be brought back to our pocket for consolidation. So looking forward to that. That's a task on its own right there. All right, so raw materials are cheap, and I took advantage and I grabbed them all up as much as I could. That whole exercise only cost anywhere from 3 to 4.5 billion, so it's very, very cheap to reset the entire public mineral market in Providence, which was that's a great bargain. To only have to spend that much to reset the market, it's really, really good. All right, gear is more valued than ISK. I thought it was kind of, and this ties back to not just the general market, but also the contracts market. Now I'm talking, what do I mean by gear? I'm talking about ships and materials needed for CTAs, ships and materials needed for defense fleets, things like that. It's kind of all over the place. There is a centralized market geographically in the region, which is in FY. It is literally like in the middle of the region if you're looking at the map. But it just doesn't have everything. And that's kind of one of those things. And people are more than willing to pay extra just to have stuff ready to go so that they can participate in CTA. So gear is definitely valuable. ISK is very easy to get in Null Sec anywhere, because of how you make money, how you normally would make money out here as a line member. You'd either be mining, or so you can sell the ores, right? Or you could be ratting and just be getting bounties as you kill the NPCs. So ISK is easy. Gear is a little bit more difficult. But you figure gear would be not as difficult because of our geography, but it's, for whatever reason, it just is. And it is like that because, at least this is my hypothesis, there appears to be a vacuum in organized market control. Each alliance pocket behaves as its own balkanized market. So I made this comment to one of my alliance mates the other day, actually, and they agree. Like each little, if you imagine, if you're looking at the Providence map right now, it's going to be different color-coded little pockets. All right. So each alliance has its own section that they have sovereignty over, have control over, they draw money from. All right. And I actually noticed that while I was buying up the minerals for the region as well. There would be consolidation of large sell orders in, like, I would imagine I guess it's kind of like the staging for these respective alliances that actually hold SOV in Providence. And if I were to pull up my asset list right now and where the bulk of those minerals are sitting in right now, it's very, very obvious, like what at least the mining or industrial main system of these alliances are. So yeah, I mean, is it good or bad that the market is like that? I mean, it's good for them, I guess, if that's what they've been working with. It's really, really good for someone like me, where I don't care really who lives in that space, but I do care, is it dockable for me? Because now I can just buy it all up. It's not like, you know what I mean? It's not like I'm exploiting the locals because they're posting it as sell orders. It's not like I'm posting like off the wall buy orders here. They want to sell it. They want to exchange their materials for ISK. I'm just doing it in bulk. And of course, we already tackled this. It's severely lacking contracts market, which is very surprising. Because that's such easy money. That's such a, well, not only is it easy money, but it's a great public service, coalition wide. You know, hey, we got a CTA, and these are doctrines. Boom, someone will just, you know, have it on hand or assemble the ships for sale on contracts or whatever, see them in the market. That's just not happening. So hopefully I'll be able to communicate that intelligently to my corporation alliance or my other contacts, and hopefully be able to plug that hole in the market. Because not only is it, and not just for the purpose of, oh, I want to make money, but it's a public service. It genuinely is a public service because then it gets people involved. It gets people wanting to log in for CTAs because they can at least have a really good chance that if they don't have a ship, they should be able to get it in the large markets in the region. Okay, and just participate and consume content that way. You know, just kind of all what we're doing here anyway. All right. Planning for the future. So, what are my plans here for Providence, for my stay here in Providence? Strengthen social connections. This will pave the way to success. So I'm really excited about being able to having to socially engage other players. You know, folks in my corporation, folks in my alliance. Other marketeers that happen to have access to the area, as far as, hey, let's do something with the market that's available here in Providence. And I think that's really, really important, specifically in Null Sec, because unlike High Sec, where it may be higher population, but it's really nothing but a collection of strangers. In Null Sec, at least there's this kind of structure of, oh, we're in a corporation and we're living in a particular space. We're in an alliance, we're living in a particular space. We're a coalition, a collection of alliances, and we're taking care of this region. That means something. That means something to people because these are the same people, you know, because all the it's the wild, wild west out there. It is the kind of tamed, you know, when you've already tamed nature and created civilization. That's what Null Sec's like, you know, and it means something for people to actually be able to work together, to be able to work together routinely. Okay, so I definitely want to tap into that. Hopefully, I'll be able to actually speak of that a lot more as things are kind of happening in the background here. All right, another thing that I'm intending to do, as far as planning for the future, is assist in organizing alliance-level industry. Be engaged and don't be afraid to challenge established norms. Take advantage of my fresh perspective. And I basically did all this. I've done all these things by buying up all those cheap minerals. Because now I bought them all up. I basically, you know, yes, they were just selling it for so cheap. I had to go get it. I was compelled to get it, you know. So hopefully that will compel better profit margins or better prices region-wide for the minerals. We'll see. Hopefully it does. And that's going to help my alliance because once we get everything back to staging, now we have this, you know, there was no mining loss. There was no, you know, no Rorquals died in the collection of these minerals. You know what I mean? And we have several billion ISK worth of raw materials that we can do something with. You know, start up our own industry and maybe develop our own pocket a little bit better by using these production lines that we can start up. And this is going to be like my biggest thing here, and I've really taken advantage of this, is taking advantage of my fresh perspective. I think the players that are there, and even the industry types, they were just used to the Providence market looking like that, or maybe they just didn't really care to attack it, because as long as their pocket was fine. But from my perspective, that's just strange. It felt out of balance, and that correction will probably be felt for a few weeks, more than likely. I say that, but it's kind of funny. But as soon as I actually started buying up those cheap minerals, very slowly they were being sold again on the sell side for right around the same price that I bought them at. So what does that tell me? People kind of just don't care to see the regional picture, I guess, or they don't put that much ISK value on their minerals, because they mined it, so it's free. And I'm more than happy to take advantage of it for my alliance and for myself, of course. So there's always that. All right, so this is this is the real meat of what I really wanted to talk about. So all the stuff I talked about so far, my experiences so far in Null Sec as a market person. Is this type of activity viable for a new player? Now let me define new player here. I mean a player that's not very knowledgeable in the whole market scene. Not necessarily a low SP player, okay? Because more often than not, that will actually be a barrier to entry for some alliances, some corporations in Null Sec, because you just need to be able to fly certain ships. You'd be able to use certain modules in order to be able to participate in CTAs, in order to participate in home defense fleets. So we're not talking about necessarily low SP players here. We're talking about low market experience players. Okay, that's who we're dealing with. Is this place viable for a medium SP, low market knowledge player? Yes, I think it is. But you must recognize that being a Null Sec market player requires a different skill set from playing high sec markets. So what are the differences here? The biggest difference is actually not based on trading skills like SP. It's more how well can you see the regional market picture for your coalition? How well can you kind of read between the lines and figure out the context of why things cost the way they are? Why are certain things listed or not listed in contracts? What does the jump freighter hauling scene look like? What does the courier contract scene look like for your region? All those things, they're clues that give you a bigger picture of the market for the region. You need to be able to kind of identify and read into that. And you don't need SP to do that. But what you do need is being able to ask about it. Maybe you just have to just plain old ask people, hey, why is this thing like this? Just ask and see if there's an opportunity there for you or your group. All right, another thing here, leverage social connections and be prepared to potentially require Omega alt accounts. Oh my goodness. This is actually a problem for me personally. So leveraging social connections, what do I mean by that? So in Null Sec, and this is definitely going to be an across the board thing, not everyone is going to be able to access the structures in your region, even if you all live in the same region. Providence is a little different, if you're an alliance, if you're a sub holding alliance in Providence, you have access to all the coalition level structures, more than likely. All right. Is that always like that in other Null Sec regions? Probably not 100%, depending on the geography and who's living where. All right. And who you share the space with. All right. So for us specifically, leveraging social connections, be a person that's known in your corporation, be a person that's known in your alliance, so that they're not like, hey, who's this guy trying to ask permissions to use this Fortizar? You know what I mean? So Get to know people. Knowing people in Null Sec is very important. Otherwise, you're not going to get anything done. All right. And along with that, along with the access to structures and knowing people so that you can help each other, you may have to. I hate using the word require, but you may find yourself in a position where you are going to genuinely need an alt. In my case, I am now a single account player. This is going to be really difficult, but I intend to continue to live in Null Sec as a single account player that's involved in markets. That sounds like an impossible task, but it's not, as long as you're willing to actually reach out and ask for help and motivate people to help you, i.e. pay them. You have to be able to pay people. You have to be able to do favors for people, things like that. Otherwise, it's going to be a lonely existence out there. You don't want to live in Null Sec and have it be a lonely existence, because that means you're not going to get help when you need it. Like simple things like defense suites, you're not gonna get help with that. You need it. Okay. Another thing for new players to think about: it's better to outwit your opponents than to outmuscle them. Exploit discrepancies and opportunity costs. And I'm going to give you an example of this. It's actually, now I have not participated in any of the mining operations for my corporation. I actually do not have the ability to mine on Rodid or Rober or any of my characters. I extracted all my mining skills not long, maybe a year and a half ago, somewhere around there. I extracted all my mining skills because, soon after the ability to extract was available, I did that. Because I was already established as a trader at that point. And the way I see it, the most efficient way to gather minerals, raw materials, is actually not to harvest them yourself. It's to actually buy them cheaply off the market. Now I think that way because I'm thinking as a solo person. I don't have a solo person with, 1 or 2 accounts. I can't possibly mine my way to a super capital on my own. But I sure as heck can actually buy all the minerals up for cheap. That I can do. Okay. So with that in mind, be aware of your opportunity cost. Is it worthwhile for you to figure out a way to move all your items from Amar to somewhere in Providence? Or would it be better for you to put out a courier contract and see if anyone in your alliance or corporation would take it, as opposed to you having to bother with moving all that stuff on your own and potentially losing them? So take advantage of opportunity cost. Take advantage of the concepts of convenience. Take advantage of the fact that people have a lot of ISK out here at Null Sec, and they're more than willing to actually trade that for convenience. And if you can come to grips with that idea and scale it in a way that's profitable for you and your group, you're gonna be very, very successful in Null Sec. Okay. It takes a lot of time, I think, for new players especially, to really become familiar with that concept. Especially for folks who've played other MMOs where they're used to the grind and they've accepted that they need to do that grind. But in EVE, you don't always have to actually do that grind, because what we leverage in using our own time to grind, we can actually leverage our ability to call on our friends. We can actually leverage our ability to call on our alliance mates, our coalition mates. And don't forget that, because that's more powerful than having a lot of money in your wallet. I can tell that right now. All right, well, that's really all I have, guys. Today was a very, very short lesson, and is more of an overview as opposed to an actual market lesson. But I hope that what we talked about today will actually be the building blocks of further discussions into playing the market in Null Sec. And I'm really excited about kind of making this step into presenting to you guys a type of content that I think not a lot of even market people can actually give or would like to give to other players out there, but I'm really excited that I think I have the ability to do that, especially with my experience in my corporation and alliance right now. All right, well, thank you very much, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next time on our next set of lessons for market traders. All right, you guys have a good one. Thanks.